Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stirring the Pot. Yes, we're still on the airwaves of U92, The Moose. We got everybody here in the stew. We're about to cook up a nice little episode for you. No Super Bowl preview yet. We're going to save that for a later week, but we're going to go over what happened in the NFL, whether it be something with head coaching hires, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator hires. There's been a lot of turnover, but first, we're going to talk about these latest playoff matchups. The conference championship weekend was great. And before we get into that, I got to introduce everybody that's in here with me. I got Don Brusco, John Doucette, RJ Rice, and myself, Connor Bratchford. Guys, how are you doing right now?
Well, I have a mixed bag of emotions right now. I feel like the NFL, as of right now, is majorly regressing, and I do not like it or am enjoying it at all. I'm specifically talking about my division and what's happening there right now, and these weird coaching hires that I did not think was going to be the product of this coaching carousel, because I thought there was some great and strong candidates on this list, but it's just turned out to be really ugly. I mean, why are we seeing now that Phillip Rivers was a coaching candidate for the Buffalo Bills, or Jason Garrett still has his hat in the ring, or the fact that maybe even Raheem Morris could be the Cardinals head coach? I don't know what's going on. This feels like a weird episode of Deja Vu. I don't even know, but it's kind of disgusting what's been going on. But as of recent, we've had several days off of school from the snowstorm, and I don't even know when I can get groceries. It could be 1 week, could be 2 weeks. God can only tell.
Yeah. It's been Dom has very it's been a rough week for the resident Jets fan here, because I got the football gods they hate the Jets. They hate the Jets, and they gave us the worst possible Super Bowl matchup for Jets fans, as I had to watch. I own 2 jerseys of go on to play in the Super Bowl, and I think likely win the Super Bowl because the Patriots are frauds, and more on that later or next week. But I'm gonna say the Patriots a lot because they are so fraudulent this year. And I know RJ Rice had a very happy morning with his new head coach hire getting announced a couple hours ago.
We'll get into it later. I have a master scheme plan on how this is actually the right hire the whole time, but you know what? That's just propaganda bait. But you know what? This NFL playoffs has been pretty fun. Not going to lie. We got robbed of some fun Super Bowl matches, but this was not the worst. There were a couple worse matchups that could have been had, but the Patriots and the Seahawks, the Super Bowl, we'll get into it next week on that full game, but recapping these other games coming up, it was a fun time for the nightcap.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk everything NFL coaching carousel. There's been a lot of turnover, but speaking of turnovers, there weren't a whole lot of turnovers this conference championship weekend here in the National Football League. It was 2 one-score games, but one of them was not like the other one. Seahawks-Rams was an absolute dogfight. That was absolute offense, total gung-ho offense. So much fun to watch. And then we got Pats-Broncos. Pats-Broncos was, I can't really say that on the air, but it was bad. It was a dumpster fire of a game because it looked like it had potential to be a really good game at the start, and then it just blizzarded in Denver, and it just completely threw off the trajectory of the game. A lot of people calling for dome stadiums to be mandated for these conference championship games. Dome reference. But I first off, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Patriots 10, Broncos 7. What a game that was. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, it started off good. I mean, you had that steady touchdown to open it up, and I mean, that was kind of a false illusion that this was going to be a great game. I mean, you open up like that, a backup quarterback throwing an absolute dot. I think it was Marvin Mims that he connected with, and he cooked Christian Gonzalez. And, I mean, it was a great start to the game. And then, I mean, the wagon was just pushed down the hill, and that wagon got destroyed by some semi-truck. This was god-awful. I mean, I would be more entertained, honestly, by watching paint dry on a wall. I mean, this game was terrible. The Patriots once again win another game that's low scoring and somehow in their favor. And really, the Patriots shouldn't have gotten this far, but I guess their ticket has just been punched for quite a bit now. I mean, you've had the Houston Texans who basically hand-wrapped them a win. Now you have the Denver Broncos, who Bo Nix took one for the team, went out like a true hero, and gave up his career, well, for this year, to beat the Buffalo Bills, which made Josh Allen cry, which got their head coach fired. But yeah, the Buffalo Bills are a complete mess right now, and then they told Keon Coleman that he's worthless, and then I have no idea what's going on with the media circus there. But this game, I feel bad for the Broncos fans because you get that far, you beat the Buffalo Bills 33-30, and then Bo Nix just like, oh, I can't play no more. See you guys, have a good season. And then it's just like, oh, well, we're screwed. So you just go into that next week, and you're like, oh, okay, we have high hopes. Jarrett Stidham, he's a great quarterback. Good guy, real good guy. Sean Payton puts all of his belief in him, and honestly, he had me there for a second. He was talking pretty good about him. He kind of had me worried. He's like, yeah, there's not a lot of film about this guy, so he's very capable. Don't worry. New England Patriots fans, they're going to be in a real tizzy once Jarrett Stiddy's done with them. Yeah, well, the only score he had was that only interesting play in the game. Other than that, it was really boring. The offense couldn't get it together. Defense tried their best, and I mean, you lost by 3 points in the championship to the Patriots, my least favorite team, who could potentially get another Super Bowl over the Steelers. But I'm sure there's no way. I mean, if they really are deserving of a Super Bowl, they'll beat Seattle, which I doubt will happen at all. I don't even think it'll be remotely close. But John, can you please tell me what your thoughts and comments are about your favorite division team, the Patriots?
Yeah,
you love them, don't they?
This game sucked. This game was horrible. This game was it was fun for the first 2 minutes, and then it was just like, here's a bunch of snow, guys. Let's have fun playing in this, and no one can move the ball. The Patriots weren't even trying to move the ball there. I mean, because it felt like as soon as the snow started coming down, and boy, did that snow come down pretty fast. Like, the broadcast did a good job showing about how just quickly it turned there from really even the start of the second half to about later in the third quarter, when it was just complete whiteout conditions. No one could move the ball. I mean, and it just felt like at that point the Patriots were like, okay, we're just going to play. We're just going to run the ball, just chew clock, and trust our defense against this backup quarterback, and just kind of stall it out to a very boring and anticlimactic win. I think I have a new pet peeve in the NFL. I mean, I've had this pet peeve for a while right now, but I think it got exposed this week, and that is dumb fourth down play calls. Obviously, the was made of Sean Payton's decision to go for it. On a 4th and 1 in the red zone, when he had a shot to go up 10-0. I at the time was saying, take the points. Your defense is playing lights out, and playing lights out all game. The Patriots didn't score any touchdowns on the offense side of the ball, but he decided to go for it, and he runs like a weird bootleg out where Jarrett Stidham has to try to run for it, but he goes out of bounds too early, and it's like at that point, if just run. I don't get why you don't just run the ball when you have 1 yard to go. I mean, it's the classic Pete Carroll fallacy where it's just, if you can't get 1 yard you can't have your offense get 1 yard in that spot, you don't deserve to win the game right there, honestly. And I felt like passing up those points and just a dumb play call. And it kind of just, with how the game played out, it kind of cost them the game in the end right there, because that game is tied 10-10. Good luck. That game will probably be at least into 1 overtime, maybe even 2 overtimes, because those offenses were just doing nothing on the field there.
Yeah, let's not sugarcoat this game. This game was kind of trash. And I mean, especially that second half when you're only having 3 points the entire half, it gets pretty boring to watch. Now, mind you, yes, this Denver defense is really good, and I think kept them in this game longer than they deserve to be in it. But also for this New England team, when you have Drake May only passing for 86 yards, and yes, I understand the conditions were bad, that wasn't really an issue as much until I'd say the second half. You still had that first half to score, get points, but like I said, the Denver defense is good. But for Vrabel and company, this game has to alarm you a little bit because, I mean, when you see how New England really played, I mean, your leading receiver is really Mac Hollins on that long catch. That was about all they did. Stephon Diggs, for pretty much this game, most of this game was radio silent. Hunter Henry only had 2 catches for the entire game. Booty only had 1. Mario Douglas was silent, too. I think that was pretty interesting. But I tell you, for this New England team, this game was very losable for them. And I think they just got lucky more due to the fact that the Broncos were employing Jarrett Stidham for this game. I mean, did he play the most horrible in the world? Could he have played much worse? I think definitely. But for his situation and, you know, being thrusted into the role and not knowing about the Bo Nix injury until after the game, he had just about a week to prepare. I think for Denver, it's an unfortunate situation. I know to John's point, I know if Sean Payton were to take the points, if you're going hypothetical, it would be 10-10. Go into overtime, see how that plays out. Still think New England wins, though, in that overtime scenario. But for Denver. This was probably their best year to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens. This team has a lot of young talent, so will they be back in the playoffs? I think absolutely. That AFC West is going to be so much fun for years to come. But for New England, this is their lucky year. I mean, just looking at who they've played so far in these playoffs and how it's really been the other opposing QB just sucks more than New England outclassing these teams is very interesting to note.
Yeah, I think in this game the Pats really showed their strength of how they can win bad football games, but their weaknesses in the fact that they look insanely beatable. This team looks very beatable, and one team that capitalizes on teams looking beatable is the Seattle Seahawks, and that's who they're going to be playing in this year's Super Bowl. The Seahawks took care of business in the game that saved Conference Championship weekend because this game was an absolute shootout. 31-27 in favor of the Seattle Seahawks, came down to the last drive for Matt Stafford. There was a thought that Matt Stafford could take that team down with a minute left on the clock and do something special, but he didn't. That Seattle Seahawks defense is legit, and you got to think that Mike McDonald goes, hey, I don't have Kyle Hamilton, who was the staple of my defense. Let's just go draft another one. Nick Emenwari is an absolute godsend to the Seattle Seahawks defense. He's like Cam Chancellor reincarnated. But there's two very, very good teams. And, I mean, what else can you ask for? 900 total yards of offense, over 700 combined passing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, no offensive turnovers. The only turnover came on that muffed punt from Xavier Smith, which, I mean, inevitably cost the Rams the football game, but you got to boil it down to something else. This game was very, very fun. Sam Darnold extinguished some demons in this game, going to his first Super Bowl, but I definitely need your guys' thoughts on this game. This is what saved this weekend.
I feel like for Seattle, well, I want to start with the Rams first. This seems to be a similar formula that they keep going through year after year where they just lose in the NFC Championship. I mean, last year you could probably blame it on the weather a little bit as that was the snow game, and Saquon Barkley honestly went off in that game and destroyed them. But the Rams kind of got what they deserved in this game. I kind of called this last week, that ironic finish where they didn't have enough time to score at the end, or that they ended it in some like traumatic finish. And it was, I forget who the pass was to. I think it was Colby Parkinson that maybe Matt Stafford threw to where he was down and then the time ran out on the clock.
It was Puka.
It was Puka?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was Puka.
No,
but
it was a Hail Mary. Not like a
yeah, it just goes to show. I mean, the Rams won the last 2 games in the playoffs. They beat the Panthers because the Panthers didn't have enough time to score at the end. I mean, it's just ironic how the Rams ended their season. They played really well. I mean, they had everything that they needed to possibly win. They had a good defense. They invested those picks into those young guys like Jared Verse, and Jared Verse has been a great player since the Rams have drafted him. He's looked tremendous, incredible. Same thing as Nick Emenwari. I mean, you go to South Carolina, you typically will find really good players on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know about offense specifically. We'll have to see when Lenore Sellers gets drafted. But the Seahawks, what I like, they opened the drive. Kenneth Walker, I haven't seen a running back like hit gaps and run, be that quick outside like Kenneth Walker was. I mean, he just had that speed to him. He was playing that game with some purpose. He had a chip on his shoulder in that game. Whenever every handoff that he'd get, he'd have such intensity when he would run. He was averaging at least like 6 yards a carry to start the game, and it was insane. I've never seen a running back run as quick as he has. Whenever he gets the ball, he just makes things happen. I mean, I'd be worried if I was the Patriots defensive coordinator going up against a guy like that. I feel like he's been playing with such determination and such, like, I don't know, it feels like he's free. He's finally free of Zach Charbonnet, and he's showing that. He shows that Zach Charbonnet wasn't even needed to be productive in this offense. He's useless, basically, what Kenneth Walker proved in this game. And, I mean, Sam Darnold, I mean, the Seattle Seahawks, they should win the Super Bowl pretty handedly, but they did a great job in this game with their offense.
Yeah, I mean, Connor, you mentioned how Sam Darnold was going to exercise some demons this past weekend. We're hoping he can bust some ghosts next week and a couple weeks from now against the Pats. But I think I could watch these two teams play like 100 times over and not get bored. Every game they've had this year, whether it be the game on Sunday back in October, or Donald threw 4 picks, but the Seahawks still almost pulled it off, or that awesome Thursday night game we had about a month ago where they just went back and forth again, leaning towards a miracle 2-point conversion by a tight end no one had heard of before, or this game really, which was just an offensive explosion from both these teams. I mean, it's hard to even knock the Rams because they put in almost a perfect game. They just made one mistake, and that was that muffed punt by Xavier Smith. And when you're playing a team when your two teams playing that are this good together, it just kind of means that one mistake could just mean the game right there, and I guess it did in that point. But I want to highlight, I mean, we've seen 2 things happen these past 2 weeks that involving just things that happened to losing teams that could have altered the game, but really didn't. Obviously, we had the Caleb Williams miracle throw last week, which is going to probably be forgotten at time because the Bears ultimately lost that game. But this week, Tariq Woolen getting flagged for taunting, giving the Rams another shot, and then immediately scoring on the play after that, in a play that could have. I mean, if he just didn't taunt on that play, the Rams are punting right there, and the Seattle can go up 2 scores, and the game just feels a lot different. But just an incredibly costly and dumb penalty. You have to think if he even plays next week in the Super Bowl, because it was just that bad, just a mistake from him that gave the Rams new life. But Seattle gets done. They just played a phenomenal back and forth game. I think every time I watch Jackson Smith-Njigba, I am just more impressed by him. He is one of the best pure separators I've ever seen in my life. It just feels like every play he's just so open, and it's awesome to watch. I can't wait to watch this team play a Super Bowl.
Yeah, man, JSN and what he's done for the Seattle Seahawks offense and really helping Sam Darnold look just as good as he did in Minnesota, I think it's just really fun to watch. And the resurgence of Kenneth Walker, I think, to me, has been one of the most, I would want to call it, I guess, not game-saving, but scheme-changing things that Seattle has kind of had to deal with. If you look at, I believe I saw a stat on Kenneth Walker, the last time he got 20-plus carries, but he got 19 this game, so he was close. Believe it dated back to last season sometime. I think it was like week 13, something late. So, like, being that bell cow running back, and I know Seattle still kind of tried to mix some certain things up with the running back position as well, with how they split a little bit of carries, but Kenneth Walker mainly being that main back. And just seeing what he did, especially last game, that was in the NFC Championship in the divisional, and then in the championship game, still putting up some decent-ish production. Having that touchdown, I think, was big. But for both these quarterbacks, both Matthew Stafford and Sam Darnold, the 0 in the INT category was what made this game so much more fun to watch. Stafford had 374. Darnold had 346. I mean, they're playing almost pretty comparable games, and it was incredible to watch these two quarterbacks go back and forth. Blake Corum and Kyron Williams had pretty decent games, and I think just seeing Devontae Adams putting it all out there. He's 0-5 in conference championship games. I feel a little bit bad for him that he somehow hasn't got to a Super Bowl yet. You'd think in L.A. it'd be his best shot. Puka had a great game as usual. I mean, even Colby Parks had a pretty good day himself with 62 receiving yards. But I think this Seattle team is just too unstoppable on both sides of the ball. And if you're going about this as a total team effort from Seattle's side, and this goes all credit to Mike McDonald. He's done an incredible job with Seattle on both sides of the ball. Obviously, having Kubiak as the offensive coordinator really helps the Seattle team be even. And I think if you have a defense, if you're Seattle, that is just as dominant. Like, yes, they gave up a lot of yards this game. The Rams have kind of been their kryptonite, which don't know how. It's just the Rams have a really good offense. But having that side of the ball defensively for Seattle that can still get you these wins in these type of games where it can be a one-possession back and forth, especially in a fourth quarter where no points were scored. Just pure back-and-forth football. This Seattle Seahawks team deserves all the credit in the world. And going into the Super Bowl now against a New England Patriots team that looked a little bit rocky, all the momentum is on your hands. But the better question is, will they actually be able to live up to the moment in the big game and get the job done?
You got to love this kind of football that they're playing in Seattle right now. Obviously, one of the main storylines coming out of last offseason was the fact that the Seahawks were moving on from a Geno Smith and getting Sam Darnold. A lot of Seahawks fans were up in arms about that because they thought Geno was that guy. I can tell you for a fact, Geno is not that guy. And Sam Darnold might actually be that guy. So that contract looks a little good and a little better every single day that it matures. But I think the most important thing to take out of this run from the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. And he is going to get paid, whether it be in Seattle or somewhere else. But there is a lot of buzz from one of Dom's favorite players potentially going to Seattle if Kenneth Walker does not re-sign with the Seattle Seahawks. Do you want to take a guess at who that player is?
One of my favorite players?
Yes, one of your favorite players.
Kenny G.
Nope.
What team?
He's a Carolina Panther.
Oh, Rico.
Yep.
Ooh.
Honestly, I feel like that would be better for the Carolina Panthers because it seems like they're a little bit stuck at either Rico
Can't
Dowdle.
feed both horses.
Yeah, you
cannot.
can't decide. Even though that running back room was packed, I mean, you still have Trevor Etienne and Jonathan Brooks who despawned for a year or two.
He's coming back.
I don't even know where that dude is.
Back-to-back injuries out for the year.
I don't know. It's just really confusing to me. I feel like Rico Dowdle though could prosper with a different team if whichever team that may be. I mean, I'm sure a few of them need a running back one.
There's a very deep running back class coming into free agency this year, but Kenneth Walker is the highest graded prospect out of all of this free agency class going into this
it's a
class.
stacked class too. Etienne's going to be there.
Yes.
Brees Hall, I think, will probably get tagged, but he could be there.
Brees Hall probably will get tagged.
Kenneth Gainwell could be on the market.
Kenneth Gainwell will be a very nice pickup.
I think Dowdle's a Panthers free agent running back.
Though he'll probably
very-
just get extended by the Steelers.
This is
I
a
don't know.
very, very deep running back free agency class. And to headline that, you got to be good. And Kenneth Walker is very, very good. But let's get into some NFL coaching carousel. Like we said before, we will be getting into the Super Bowl preview probably next week, if not 2 weeks from now. We've got a lot of time. Who cares about the Pro Bowl? Honestly, it's flag football. Nobody cares. Shedeur Sanders.
Shedur's there, yeah.
Shedeur Sanders is going to be in the Pro Bowl games. That's how you know it's a joke.
That's how you know life is good.
First Pro Bowler since Derek Anderson, baby.
This
Come
is-
on, at the
it's
QB
so
position.
crazy.
You know, the guy that got his number retired at Colorado for winning a bowl game.
You know,
Let's
with-
go.
With seeing how bad Colorado was this year, I mean, he might deserve it. I'm not going to
Well,
lie.
at this point, a bowl game, for West Virginia, that's like a Super Bowl at this point.
Pretty much.
So
That's
far
like,
out of reach, though.
nah, the Pitt game is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know what? Nothing will ever
And they
top
won
that.
West Virginia won the Super Bowl this year.
With 3 different quarterbacks.
Yes, they did. All right, we've seen a lot of turnover of some jobs. We've seen a lot of Indeed getting used throughout this coaching carousel. A lot of people have been going on their LinkedIn and saying, hey, please hire me. I'm open to work. And one of those people, which I think is a home run hire for this team, Mike McDaniel, going as the Chargers OC. He got, I believe he was fired, right? From the Dolphins?
Yeah, he was.
I didn't know if it was a mutual agreement
Oh,
or
no,
anything
he
like
just
that. Like a-
Fired after talking to Darren Waller.
Yeah. Mike McDaniel going to the Chargers as their OC. I think that is a home run hire for not John Harbaugh. We'll be talking about John Harbaugh in a sec, but Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers, I think he's going to work wonders with Justin Herbert and all of those offensive pieces. But there's a lot of different names coming around here. Probably the biggest ones of the names would be Mike McDaniel going to the Chargers as their OC, Eric Bieniemy going back to the Chiefs as their OC yet again. You got to think that's going to be fun for Mahomes because obviously Mahomes is going to be hurt for a good portion of next year, but Brian Dable going to the Titans as their OC. He was fired around mid-season as the Giants head coach.
That's a home run hire, too, for them.
That is also a home run hire, I believe, because we will be talking about a certain man that used to coach the New York Jets going to the Tennessee Titans. But let's go through the coordinator hires so far. Jonathan Gannon was hired as the Packers DC, which I think is a very good hire. He's a very nice defensive coordinator. Probably just wasn't the right fit as a head coach in the NFL. But one that I have to ask RJ about, how do you feel about Tommy Rees?
I think with him, that was a pretty weird situation because he was just kind of getting his feet wet as a play-calling offensive coordinator. I think compared to how he was with Kevin calling plays, compared to him actually calling the plays, he has potential. I think for Atlanta, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, that's not the worst-case scenario in the world. He showed some promise, and considering that Atlanta has those weapons, I'm going to be honest with you, it could have been a lot worse for the Falcons. And I think if they give him about a year and a half, I think he could be a pretty well-off offensive coordinator, especially since he has that connection with Kevin.
I'll give John the floor for this one. How do you feel about Brian Duker, the former Dolphins pass game coordinator, going to the Jets as their new defensive coordinator?
Yes, a lot of Jets who's going on. Basically, we're overhauling. We're basically just keeping Glenn and saying everybody else is going to be new. I was very surprised to be fired. Steve Wilkes got fired mid-season, so he's kind of not necessarily a very new firing. But we fired our OC yesterday, too, which is very surprising. Rumors are we want an experienced OC to fill that role. It's looking like it's going to be Frank Reich. It's not been announced yet. But
That's fun.
A very interesting hire. Frank Reich coming back from Stanford if he does get this job. The Jets want an experienced offensive head coach because, as hire kind of indicates on the defensive side, is that Glenn's going to be taking over the defense in a much more hands-on role this year. He expressed interest in wanting to call plays again. He wants to kind of just... He knows his team's getting very hot. He wants to just try to get as much control over that as possible. Brian Duke is a guy who worked with Aaron Glenn in Detroit as a defensive backs coach and helped develop some of these most very talented defensive backs we see in Detroit right now. And Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, he worked very much with those guys and then was in Miami this year under Anthony Weaver. So definitely some spots in the resume right there. The Lions defensive backs have been very good at creating turnovers. As we've seen, that is a very weak spot for the Jets. They did not have a single interception all this year. But this is kind of more. This guy's going to be a bit more of an underling. It's going to be Glenn's defense this year. This is a guy who's going to kind of help him out there. He has a connection with him, but not much to judge right here. This is going to be Glenn's defensive job. I think that's a good move for the Jets because he showed a lot of promise in Detroit that last year at the defense, hoping kind of work through injuries. I think taking over in that spot is a beneficial move for him, and it's interesting to see how this Jets defense will kind of hopefully be a bit more respectable this year.
Yeah, and there's a couple of innovative play callers on the move, one of them going to probably one of the most innovative play calling teams in the NFL. Drew Petzing going from the Cardinals to the Lions as their OC, just flipping Cardinals offensive coordinator to Lions offensive coordinator. I think that's going to be fun to watch with all of those pieces on that offense that he has been given in Detroit now. And Zach Robinson going from the Falcons offensive coordinator to the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. There was a bit of a Twitter beef going on with this. Baker Mayfield talking about see you twice a year, coach. But
I think Baker Mayfield has beef with everybody who's ever moved.
Yeah, I think so.
But before we move on to coordinators, let's just always mention Eagles have not hired a coordinator yet on offense. It's very interesting.
I think it's more of the fact that nobody wants the job because, the fan base is not a very forgiving one if you make mistakes. And they really hated Patullo, so I very much doubt that anybody would want the stress or the pressure of having the Philadelphia Eagles job as coordinator. Because, no, it does have a lot of good pieces on it. I just feel like if you're not successful from the jump, you're going to get reprimanded by the fans, and that's never a good look. And it's just a lot of stress and pressure. And more specifically because they threw eggs at Patullo's house. Yeah, I would not want that as a coordinator either.
I think also it's a mix of that. If you're a coordinator, I don't necessarily think if you're looking for a job and that's the case, I don't think you should be looking at that. But I think really it's the problem of Sirianni as a head coach and getting in the way of that play calling of what the offensive coordinator wants to call. I think is a big issue in Philadelphia that they still have to kind of figure out because if you have a situation like this again and you let's just say bomb expectations by a little bit more than you expected, I wouldn't be shocked because Philadelphia pulling the trigger next season if things happen and they don't do as well as expected to fire their head coach, they could have a couple young coordinators that would gladly take that head coaching job. But that's obviously way down the line. But that's I think a reason why this job isn't as coveted as a lot of people see.
It's just it's like a media funhouse disaster. It's just a mess in Philly.
There's been a lot of names thrown around for the Eagles OC job. Mike McDaniel, Zach Robinson, Brian Dable, and all of those three people have been hired already by different teams. But the one that they're thinking about, they might make a division switch, or he's going to stay in division, is Cliff Kingsbury. I don't see why he would leave Jaden Daniels in that kind of offense with those kind of upcoming pieces in Washington. But, I mean, I've seen crazier in the NFL, but that would probably be the quote-unquote front runner. Don't quote me on that one. It's right now it has him at 2-1 odds, Cliff Kingsbury to switch from Washington to Philadelphia. But there's not a whole lot of good names out there right now. You got to think they might promote from in-house, which is not a very Philadelphia thing to do. But
Philly fans would be terrified about that.
Yes, they would.
There's a lot of change right now, and I don't really like it. It's just like I feel like we're regressing back to 2017 coaching carousel at this point.
Should have never let Kellen Moore go.
Like the Arizona job. Why are they even thinking about hiring Riverboat Ron? What I don't understand. Like what's going on there?
Yeah, there's a what do we call it? The dummy candidate.
Like I call it the
cameo
candidate. The loony rule.
The loony rule. You have to hire one. You have to at least interview one loony bin.
Titans got Jason Garrett. Bills got Philip Rivers.
I don't know why
Browns
Phillip
had
Rivers.
Condoleezza Rice a few years ago.
Condoleezza Rice.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
God.
yeah.
That's the Hall of Fame one right there.
It is.
Yeah, that's still crazy. But while we're talking about coaches, let's get into the head coaching hires that have gone through so far this year. Let's go over the ones that don't require our teams yet. We've got 2 people that are going to sound off, and I know one of them is going to have a conniption on this podcast right now. Let's go through the ones that don't involve our teams. Robert Saleh switches from the 49ers defensive coordinator to the Tennessee Titans head coach. That is one of my favorite hires of this cycle. I think that's going to be really fun to see what he does with those young, fun defensive pieces in Tennessee, and with a very young, very talented quarterback and a very quarterback-friendly offensive coordinator going with Cam Ward. John Harbaugh was left the Ravens as their head coach. They fired him, actually. He is now the New York Giants head coach. That's going to be an interesting one with him and Jackson Dart. Jeff Hafley going from the Packers defensive coordinator job to the Dolphins head coaching job. Another interesting one there. Todd Monken. We'll get into him in a minute. And Mike McCarthy. We'll get into him in a minute. But the ones that don't involve our teams, let's finish with those. Kevin Stefanski going from the Browns head coaching job to the Falcons head coaching job. Jesse Minter going from the Chargers DC job to the Ravens. And Joe Brady getting hired as the Bills head coach. There's a lot of people who are up in arms about that. As Bills fans, I have a Bills fan friend, shout out Carter, who is not very happy about this one. And I saw a quote on, I believe it was Twitter, that said, "This is like if you crap your pants and you change your pants." So it's the same thing, just with a different pair of pants on. But there's a lot of different things we could say about that. Let's go into the first one that revolves around us. I'll save Dom's for last, because I think that's going to be the best one. Todd Monken, the former Ravens offensive coordinator, is headed to Cleveland Town as the Browns' new head coach. And that is going to drive out a certain coordinator in Cleveland. RJ, I need to know your thoughts on this one.
I'm still trying to process, I'm not going to lie. It was my own personal attack on my fandom, because I was in the living room with you guys, I believe it was yesterday, 2 days ago, saying that if Todd Monken got hired, I don't know if I could watch this team again. Of course he got hired. It's just the Cleveland way. You spend a month on this head coaching process. You thought they were going to lock down Nate Shieldhouse as their head coach a couple days ago, and they were in L.A. for like a 7-hour meeting. They flew back to decide, and then the Haslam plane went to Florida for some ungodly reason, and then the odds were going everywhere. Nobody knew what was going on. Cleveland was very quiet about this, which I guess if this is what you wanted the whole time, credit to the organization for keeping quiet. But it seemed Schwartz had the edge of this, and then it was reported, I believe, around 11 o'clock this morning, give or take, that Todd Monken, former Browns offensive coordinator in 2019 with Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham Jr., and Jarvis Landry, took the head coaching job. He was originally slated, if he wasn't going to get this job, to be the Giants OC. Harbaugh really wanted him, I guess. But I think for the Browns, this could have been a lot worse, considering the fact that Monken at least has some, I guess, inside of the organization, how it works. He was here with 2019 under Freddie Kitchens. That whole scenario fiasco, he was really, I guess, one of those guys that was ticked the most, considering that it seemed like they weren't calling the game plan they were running in practice that week. I guess if you look at his track record, and I have it in front of me, I've been looking at it, and how their offenses have looked after he left the Browns in 2019. He was at Georgia for 3 years. That's when they were looking really good, averaging a lot of yards per game. Then he switched back to the NFL, went to Baltimore for a couple of years, about 3 years. They had one of the top 10 offenses in 23 and 24, and then around middle of the pack this past year in 25 before, obviously, the changes in Baltimore. I think with this, and depending on, I guess, who the coordinators are, there's going to be a whole sweeping change in Cleveland. I think Schwartz is going to leave I see him going to San Francisco. Bubba Ventrone, special teams, will probably go to L.A., which John, trust me, he knows that gave his team the win due to his coaching. It really depends on who the coordinators are and who's going to be calling plays before I can really fully assess the hire. I'm in the camp of where I'm starting to get used to it. I guess they went offensive. That was my one gripe. I wanted them to go offense. They went offense. And it really comes down to this free agency class in this draft. And knowing if this is Andrew Berry's hire or not, this could have been Haslam's. We don't know. I would assume Haslam, considering how he's impeded other head coaching searches. Most notably the one where we wanted Sean McDermott but decided to go elsewhere. I will say, though, this has the chance to either look really good and underrated on a site of Monken has head coaching experience in college, Southern Miss. I mean, you can take that for what it's worth. OC for an SEC school, led an NFL offense to good heights under Lamar Jackson. Or this is going to blow up in their face. You're going to see a complete revamp in about 2 years with Barry getting fired along with Monken. And we do this all over again. But I guess it could have been worse. Let's see what happens. And who knows if Shedeur will even be the starting quarterback. It could be Deshaun next year for all I know. Godspeed, people.
That would be a very interesting development if Deshaun Watson just comes in to Shedeur Sanders' apparent quarterback room that apparently he runs now according to his media. But, yeah, that'd be really funny to see him just be like, all right, hold my beer. But we've got a really fun one to talk about here. Let's go off of the two open head coaching jobs right now before we get into this one. The Arizona Cardinals have not hired a head coach yet, and neither have the Las Vegas Raiders, which I think is interesting considering they have the number 1 overall pick. Apparently, looks like they're going to take Fernando Mendoza, although crazier things have happened.
Can crazier things please happen?
I just think that nobody wants that job because you look at how many coaches they've fired over the 6 years, which I believe is 5. I mean, it sounds like it's a free paycheck by the amount of coaches they still have to pay, being John Gruden, Pete Carroll, maybe Antonio Pearson, maybe Josh McDaniels, which is ridiculous.
I mean, Gruden got an insane contract from that.
But that franchise is cursed. If you're not, it seems like they want to compete year one. Doesn't matter what circumstance you're in, it's way too much pressure. You need several years to build, and the Raiders are impatient and they're ignorant and they move on quickly, like they did with Pete Carroll. I don't like it.
I've got a fun prediction. I know we said something about the Eagles' offensive coordinator job still being open. I think that could be a landing spot for Brian Callahan. I think that'd be a really fun one to monitor because he's got that kind of spread offense that the Eagles kind of want to run with Jalen Hurts, but have not been able to. Yes, as OC.
Okay, thank God. I thought you were about to say as head coach for
no,
one of those
no.
spots. I was going to say
no.
3-win tenure is terrible.
No, Brian Callahan is a very good OC. I have firsthand experience with him. He's a very good play caller for quarterbacks who are not afraid of making kind of bad throws. Joe Burrow is very good at that. He's very good at making those, like I've said with Dom multiple times, those arrogant throws. The kind that Cam Ward, I think, is good at, and I think that's why he's going to be successful at some point in the NFL, whether it be in Tennessee or not. But let's get to the last head coaching hire. Hey, Dom, how you doing?
I hate this hire so much.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Mike Tomlin stepped down from his role as head coach. He was, I believe, the longest tenured head coach in the NFL.
By a wide margin, too.
Yeah, I think it was Andy Reid was the last one.
The second. Well, he is currently the longest. But
and now Zach Taylor's like right behind.
Zach Taylor's the second longest.
In the
there was Harbaugh beforehand.
Well, it was Tomlin and Harbaugh were the two most tenured.
And McDermott.
McDermott was the third, and then Reid was the third, and then McDermott was the fourth.
Yeah.
In the AFC, I know it's Zach Taylor. Is there anybody in the NFC who's longer?
I don't think
Shanahan's got to be up.
Shanahan and McVay might be.
McVay's pretty close.
McVay took over in 2018.
What about
2017?
It's like that whole tree that's pretty
LaFleur was 2019.
LaFleur was 2019.
It's that Washington Redskins old coaching tree that's been around for a while. That's been, I mean, Shanahan, LaFleur, and McVay have been around about the same time.
Yeah. But this is the final hire that we will be talking about on this head coaching carousel. The Pittsburgh Steelers obviously had a vacancy at their head coaching job. There was a lot of names that were being thrown around for it. There was a lot of really fun, interesting names being thrown around for this. A lot of names that Dom wasn't a fan of, and a couple names that Dom was a fan of for this job. But they landed on a native. They landed on somebody who's from Pittsburgh, somebody who knows the culture in Steel City. And that man is none other than big back former Cowboys head coach himself, Mike McCarthy. And we've got a Pittsburgh Steelers fan here on this podcast, as you guys know, in Dom Brusco, who's not a very big fan of this hire. Dom, just sound off for me.
No, I'm not a very big fan of this hire at all. If we're going off of being a Pittsburgh local, I might as well just throw my hat in the ring and coach the team because I have experience. I've lived in Pittsburgh for about 20 years. Hey, maybe I might be a good football coach. God knows. But I just don't understand the Steelers' motivation in hiring this. It's basically like a white Mike Tomlin. They have the exact same records. If you go over the record of Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy, it is exactly the same. It is almost like day and night, like the same thing. They have the same win percentage, nearly the same record, and guess what? They both choke in playoff games, so we did absolutely nothing here. I don't know why this Art Rooney would make a decision like this. I think it's to keep, one of the larger fan bases in the NFL entertained and to keep the tickets prices up, but I feel like we should have gone in a different direction, and RJ did tell me that Shula apparently bombed the interview to be the Steelers head coach. Like, he absolutely, just had a terrible interview. If I was the Steelers, I really wanted Brian Flores for this job, honestly, because Brian Flores was the best candidate. I feel like Brian Flores could have fixed the defense. He's been really well with Minnesota. Minnesota's defense has been coveted, and it's been one of the best-known units in the NFL for the past few years ever since Flores has taken over. We've actually had Flores as our linebackers coach, as an assistant coach for quite a bit. If I was the Steelers, I would have had Brian Flores come in for a personal interview and not let him leave the building until he took the head coaching job. But you hire Mike McCarthy. Oh, he's a Pittsburgh local. Well, my grandpappy's a Pittsburgh local. He could probably coach the team just as good as Mike McCarthy. And I don't understand. It's just disgusting. I'm disgusted by this hire. It's basically like Mike Tomlin, but you take a little bit of a step back, and now he's white. I don't understand it. It's just terrible. I didn't want this hire. This guy's, I've already seen the memes where he's reading off of a Waffle House menu thing. And guess what? He won 12-5 with the Dallas Cowboys, 3 years in a row with a good Dakota Prescott. Oh, wait. The prime Dallas Cowboys team. You had Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and rookie CeeDee Lamb, and you couldn't win a playoff game with those three guys. How do you not win a playoff team with that offense? And with the Steelers' offense right now, you don't even stand a chance. Might as well get blown out in the wild card every year. Actually,
if you get to the wild card.
This division, by the way, the AFC North, was coveted. It was one of the best coached divisions in all of football for years. And now the bar is so low, it's in the dirt. We're playing limbo with the bar at this point. Zach Taylor's the best coach. That's sad.
Zach Taylor's the best coach in the division because he has tenure. That's bad.
Ooh.
Woohoo!
But
I can't wait till the Steelers lose a playoff game and they line up Kenny G at center.
So, Dom,
McCarthy special.
It's funny you mention about fixing the defense because we have some breaking news for you.
Why, did they just hire that guy? Did they hire that low-life bum?
They hired somebody who has almost driven Max Crosby out of Las Vegas. Patrick Graham.
No, did they hire him?
Patrick Graham is close to signing as the new defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You see, it can't get, you say the word, it can't get worse. Oh, no, it can't. You fired Terrell Austin, who's run the same defense for 10+ years. By the way, I don't know how our defense remains so good. It's just the Steelers' way with Mike Tomlin magic. Well, guess what? Mike Tomlin voodoo magic is gone. We're gonna have it's either 8-9 or 9-8. This division's gonna look like the NFC South. It's gonna be god awful. We've regressed. I feel like the whole NFL with this coaching carousel. I'm very disappointed with the NFL. It's just regressed, and I hate it. There are so many good coaches that you could have hired, like Brian Flores, but the fact that we're just bringing in random people who have had awful tenures, like Riverboat Ron, the coach teams. What NFL am I living in? What National Football League am I living in? This is terrible. You might as well bring back Jeff Fisher and some other cameo candidates. Let's bring back John Gruden and his email scandals. Maybe that'll cheer things up.
The Jets tried to hire him, apparently, but you said no.
The Jets tried and failed.
So someone please hire Jason Garrett. We need Jason Garrett back in the league.
I don't care if it's as coordinator or not. That'd be actually really funny. We got some breaking Pro Bowl news that actually affects somebody in this room. Connie will be happy about this. T. Higgins. Pro Bowl, replacing Ravens save Flowers.
Sanders.
Can we have a whole episode that talks about how the Pro Bowl games have been ruined?
Yes.
You know, a nice,
we can do that.
A nice fun way to put a nice little happy stamp on this after Dom's.
This isn't a
what NFL am I living in?
This is a very happy episode, Dom. This is a very happy episode.
This isn't a happy episode at all. I hate this episode.
Great defensive
Dom,
coordinator.
Before we end this episode, I would just like to read you a few stats. about the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Now, last season's Pittsburgh Steelers defense, so technically this season, ranked 7th in the NFL. They finished as a top 10 unit again, and they ranked 7th in the NFL in points allowed, 19.6 points per game. You want to know the Raiders? They ranked 14th in defense last year. You want to know how many points they allowed per game?
I'm probably going to say around 35.
25, and they ranked 25th in the NFL. They ranked 25th in the NFL in points allowed. How does that make you feel, knowing that coordinator has gone from Las Vegas, where he got his team to the number 1 overall pick, to Pittsburgh, where he's going to be coaching with, like you said, white Mike Tomlin?
Well, you see, you could have had way better hires than this. I don't know how these guys are even entering the Steelers' office and getting interviews. I mean, honestly, Raheem Morris could have been a good candidate as a DC.
Okay, no.
Oh.
Okay, no.
No, that's it. No, it's the Raiders DC. It's the Raiders
not
DC.
Raheem Morris.
It's the Raiders DC. You know, you could have gotten better. You could have gone better than the Raiders. I mean, why would you look at the Raiders franchise, why would you even want to go near that franchise? It's not successful. It's been bottom of the barrel for years. Ever since that one playoff game where the Bengals defeated them, they've been irrelevant pieces of garbage. Sorry, any Raiders fans are listening to this, but you guys are absolute trash.
That's certainly a way to talk about Raiders fans.
At least they have younger talent to, I guess.
Is there anything else we need to go over for this coaching carousel? Because I feel like we've covered the bases of it.
Yeah, I mean, to basically sum it up, I could be a head coach for the NFL and do it better than half of these guys that have been hired because they're all bums.
David Blau got an OC job for the Commanders. That was pretty cool.
Yes, he did.
Shout out.
What about Tom Telesco?
He was funny enough.
The Bills.
No, funny enough
Joe
about
Brady,
that. Yeah, funny enough about that, Dom. He was in our head coaching search as a helper, and clearly that didn't work out too well.
He could have been better for you than what you have. You want to trade coaches?
It could have been Anthony Lynn. Honestly, you know what? Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
You know, yeah,
I'd take Mike McCarthy.
I just want to embrace the tank at this point. I want to know what it feels like to have a losing season.
No, you don't. My season ends in October.
I think here's the problem. They fired a lot of long-tenured coaches, and now those tenured coaches are being appreciated by the franchises that are starving and haven't been to the playoffs in years or have had a good winning record. Or have had a winning record in the past 10 years. So I think fans need to realize that you should maybe enjoy it while it lasts, and that making the playoffs is actually an achievement.
This is just a lolcow coaching carousel.
This has been a very lolcow coaching carousel. That's crazy that we got to break that news to you. That was beautiful.
No, this is
quite beautiful.
I feel like it had the potential to be a great one, but now it's not.
It failed.
That was a little bad.
Not enough good candidates and too many jobs.
Yeah. The one big one is that Shieldhaas is staying with the Rams. So next head coaching carousel, he's going to be a
Hey, you
hot
want to come
commodity.
coach Arch Manning and the Jets? I know you do.
So
Arch Manning and the Jets.
Is the Shula bus now like?
The Shula bus tanked.
The Sheila bus got Darnold.
Yeah, apparently he went into the Steelers interview room and just
tanked.
I don't know. He just went boom and. They haven't talked about him since.
I wonder if he came to it drunk or something.
I kind of glad he just declined us because I had a feeling if he bombed it hard enough, we would have hired him.
He went in there like SpongeBob and Patrick at Goofy Goobers after a few hours. I mean, dude was absolutely wasted.
All right, we're talking about Goofy. We're talking about Weenie Hunt Juniors here on Stirring the Pot. That's a good place to end it off. We thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of Stirring the Pot. We'll get back to you guys next week with probably a fun episode. I don't know if we're going to be doing Super Bowl previews or if that's going to be for the next week. But whether you're interested in Super Bowl previews or a fun episode or not, we will see you guys next week here on Stirring the Pot. Peace out.